The summer sun beat down mercilessly as Sarah Matthews rode her chestnut mare along the dusty trail connecting Silver Creek to the neighboring town of Prosperity. At 22, with her honey-blonde hair tied back and Winchester rifle resting across her saddle, she looked every bit the confident daughter of Sheriff Hank Matthews. The package of legal documents she carried needed to reach the county judge by nightfall. She slowed at a bend in the trail, the hairs on the back of her neck rising. Something wasn't right. The birds had gone silent. Sarah reached for her rifle just as 5 riders emerged from the trees, bandanas pulled high across their faces. Her horse reared as they surrounded her, rough hands pulling her from the saddle. A cloth pressed against her face, the world spinning into darkness as she fought against the sickly sweet smell of chloroform. Before we continue, let us know where you're watching from and what time it is for you. Your comment helps our community grow stronger. Thanks, and let's get back to the story. Sarah awoke with a throbbing headache, her wrists bound behind her back. The room was dim, sunlight filtering through cracks in boarded windows of what appeared to be an abandoned cabin. Rough voices carried from outside. The Carson brothers. Everyone in 3 counties knew of their brutality. Their youngest brother Liam had been sentenced to hang by her father 6 months ago. Now Sarah understood why she'd been taken. This wasn't a random kidnapping, it was revenge. In Silver Creek, Sheriff Hank Matthews paced his office, his weathered face lined with worry and rage. Sarah was 3 hours overdue. The search party had found her horse and scattered papers on the trail, along with signs of struggle. Carson brothers, spat Deputy Wilson, holding a dirty bandana with their distinctive red stitching found at the scene. Got to be them, Sheriff. The sheriff slammed his fist against the wall. I want every man we can find. We ride in an hour. His voice broke. My girl helped that prisoner escape 3 years back. If she could survive that scandal, she can survive this. She's strong. The mention of the escape still cut deep. 3 years ago, a prisoner named Jake Blackwood had been locked up for a stagecoach robbery he'd claimed he didn't commit. Sarah had discovered evidence supporting his innocence, a receipt placing him 50 miles away during the robbery. When her father refused to reopen the case, claiming the evidence was too circumstantial, Sarah had made a decision that changed everything. Late one night, she'd slipped Jake the key to his cell, along with enough supplies to get him to the territorial border. The scandal nearly destroyed her father's career and her reputation. Only her subsequent dedication to helping at the jailhouse and her father's respected position had allowed them to weather the storm. Now, as the sheriff gathered his men, he couldn't help but wonder if his daughter's compassionate heart had led to her current predicament. Miles away in the town of Redemption, Jake Blackwood's knife sliced through the leather he was working. At 30, his dark hair was longer now, his face weathered from years on the trail. He'd built a quiet life as a tracker and leather worker, careful to stay invisible to the law. The dusty streets of Redemption were far enough from Silver Creek that few recognized him as the escaped prisoner from 3 years ago. Blackwood, called a familiar voice. Mitch Cooper, a trader who traveled between settlements, approached his workbench. Thought you might want to know. Sheriff Matthews' daughter's been taken. Carson gang. From what I heard. Jake's hands stilled. Sarah Matthews, the sheriff's golden-haired daughter with eyes that had shown kindness when everyone else saw only a criminal. The woman who'd believed him when no one else would. The woman who'd given him back his life. Where? Jake's voice was steady despite the sudden hammering of his heart. Word is they're holed up in those caves north of Devil's Ridge. Sheriff's got a posse, but those mountains are Carson territory. They know every hiding place. Mitch shook his head. Shame. She was always a nice girl. Too good for what's likely to happen to her. Jake set down his tools, his decision made before he'd even realized it. I'm heading out. Watch my shop. You crazy? That's Carson country. Even a tracker like you. But Jake was already gathering supplies. He knew what he owed Sarah Matthews. A life for a life. In the cabin, Sarah tested her bonds. The Carsons had tied her well, but not well enough. She'd grown up watching her father restrain prisoners. She knew the weaknesses of most knots. Working her wrists slowly, ignoring the rope burn, she felt a slight give. The cabin door swung open. Clint Carson, the eldest brother, ducked through the entrance. At 40, his face was a map of scars and malice. Sheriff's daughter, he drawled, pulling up a chair backward and straddling it. Your pa hanging our brother tomorrow. Sarah met his gaze steadily. My father enforces the law. Your brother robbed a bank and shot a teller. Family's family, Clint replied simply. Figured your pa might reconsider if we had something he wanted real bad. His calloused hand reached out, catching a strand of her hair. Sarah jerked away. Your pa's got till sundown tomorrow. Then we send him a piece of you. Nothing vital. First time. Sarah kept her face neutral, though fear coursed through her veins. You won't get away with this. Clint laughed. We're Carsons. We always get away. He rose, heading to the door. Get comfortable, princess. It's gonna be a long night. After he left, Sarah resumed working her bonds with new urgency. By nightfall, she'd managed to free her hands, though she kept them behind her back when the youngest Carson brother, Emmett, brought her a plate of beans. She'd need to wait for the right moment. There were at least 4 of them, and she'd spotted rifles. Running blindly would only get her shot. Jake rode through the night, pushing his Mustang hard across the rough terrain. He knew these mountains better than most, having hidden here himself during his first months as a fugitive. The Carsons were smart and brutal, but they were creatures of habit. They'd use one of their established hideouts, most likely the old mining cabin near Serpent Creek, their preferred spot for holding hostages. Dawn found him tethering his horse in a grove half a mile from the cabin. Through his spyglass, he counted 4 men: Clint, Wade, Emmett, and Joe Carson. All armed, all dangerous. The sheriff's posse was nowhere in sight, likely still searching the wrong section of the mountains. Jake checked his Colt revolver and the knife at his belt. He'd been a peaceful man before prison. Now he was simply a practical one. He wouldn't seek violence, but he wouldn't shy from it either. Inside the cabin, Sarah had formulated her plan. She'd noticed the loose floorboard beneath her chair, concealing what appeared to be an old root cellar. If she could get to it while alone, she might find another way out, or at least a place to hide until her father's men arrived. Wade Carson entered, a plate of hardtack in one hand. Breakfast, princess. Sarah kept her unbound hands hidden, feigning weakness. Please. Water. Wade set down the plate, reaching for the canteen at his belt. As he leaned forward, Sarah drove her knee upward into his groin. He doubled over with a wheeze as she grabbed the heavy plate, smashing it against his temple. He crumpled, unconscious. Sarah grabbed his revolver, frantically prying up the floorboard. The space below was tight but navigable, a forgotten mine shaft entrance. She lowered herself down just as boots thundered toward the cabin door. Outside, Jake heard the commotion. The Carsons were agitated, shouting about their missing prisoner. He needed to move now, while they were distracted searching the perimeter. Keeping low, he approached from the blind side of the cabin. Underground, Sarah crawled through the narrow shaft, the stolen revolver clutched in her trembling hand. The tunnel was old, shored up with rotting timbers, likely from the silver mining days. It sloped downward, then up again, emerging behind a stand of boulders 50 yards from the cabin. Freedom was so close she could taste it. As she emerged from the tunnel, a hand clamped over her mouth. She bit down hard, driving an elbow backward. Sarah, it's me, came a harsh whisper. The hand loosened. She twisted around, finding herself staring into a face she'd thought never to see again. Older, more weathered, but unmistakable. Jake Blackwood. We need to move, he whispered. Now. A shout from the cabin indicated the Carsons had discovered her escape route. Jake pulled her behind the rocks as rifle shots peppered the area. They crawled through the underbrush, making their way toward where Jake had tethered his horse. My father, she began. Looking in the wrong place, Jake replied. We need to get you safe first. They reached his Mustang, Jake helping her up before swinging into the saddle behind her. They rode hard, following game trails too narrow for the Carsons to pursue easily on horseback. By mid-morning, they'd put several miles between themselves and the cabin, but Jake remained vigilant. The Carsons weren't men to surrender their revenge easily. We'll rest here, Jake said, stopping by a small stream sheltered by cottonwoods. He helped Sarah dismount, noticing the rope burns on her wrists. Without comment, he tore strips from his spare shirt, soaking them in the cool stream before gently wrapping her injuries. Why did you come for me? Sarah asked, studying his face. After what my father tried to do to you. Jake's hands paused. Because you saved my life. Because you believed me when no one else would. His eyes met hers. I never forgot that. I found the receipt, she said quietly. From that trading post in Fort Gibson. You couldn't have robbed that stagecoach. You were 50 miles away. Jake nodded. Been living in redemption these past 2 years. Built a life. Until I heard about you. He finished bandaging her wrists. Your father still want me hanged? There was an investigation after you escaped. Another man confessed to the robbery on his deathbed 6 months later. Your name was cleared. She touched his arm. You could have come back. A bitter smile crossed Jake's face. Cleared of the robbery, maybe. Not of the escape. Or assaulting the deputy on my way out. Sarah's eyes flashed. That deputy was stealing from the evidence room. We discovered that too. Before Jake could respond, the crack of a rifle echoed through the trees. Bark splintered inches from Sarah's head. Jake shoved her down, drawing his revolver. Found us faster than I expected, he muttered, spotting Wade and Joe Carson moving through the trees. Jake fired twice, forcing them to take cover. We need to move. They abandoned the horse, moving deeper into the forest on foot. Jake led them along a nearly invisible deer trail, climbing steadily. Behind them, they could hear the Carsons crashing through the underbrush. Where are we going? Sarah panted. There's a cave system ahead. We can lose them there. Jake helped her over a fallen log. Your father taught you to shoot? Sarah nodded, gripping the revolver she'd taken from Wade. Since I was 12. Good. You may need it. The cave entrance was hidden behind a curtain of vines. Inside, the passage split in 3 directions. Jake hesitated, then chose the rightmost tunnel. They moved deeper into the darkness, the sounds of pursuit growing fainter. They'll be cautious in here, Jake whispered. These caves are treacherous if you don't know them. They settled in a small chamber, Jake lighting a small taper from his pack. In the flickering light, Sarah studied the man who'd risked everything to save her. The boy she'd helped escape had been frightened, desperate. This man was something else entirely, confident, capable. Thank you, she said simply, for coming back for me.
Jake's eyes met hers.
I always pay my debts. Is that all this is? A debt? Before he could answer, pebbles clattered in the tunnel behind them. Jake extinguished the light immediately, pulling Sarah behind a rock formation. In the darkness, his arm around her waist kept her steady. Her heart pounded, though whether from fear or his proximity, she couldn't say. Emmett Carson's voice echoed through the cave. We know you're in here, Blackwood. We remember you from your hiding days. Give us the girl, and maybe we let you walk away. Jake's breath was warm against Sarah's ear. Stay here. I'll draw them away. No, she hissed. We stay together. Sarah. I didn't save your life so you could throw it away for mine. Her hand found his in the darkness, squeezing firmly. We do this together. Jake hesitated, then nodded. Together, then. They moved silently through a side passage Jake remembered, circling behind where Emmett's voice had come from. In the dim light filtering from the entrance, they could make out 2 silhouettes. Jake signaled to Sarah, indicating she should target the man on the right. They raised their weapons simultaneously. Drop your guns, Jake called, his voice echoing through the cavern. Now, the Carsons whirled, but found themselves staring down the barrels of 2 revolvers. Emmett snarled, but dropped his rifle. Joe hesitated. I won't ask twice, Jake said calmly. Joe's rifle clattered to the ground. Sarah moved forward, kicking the weapons away while Jake kept his gun trained on the brothers. Where are the others? Jake demanded. Looking for the sheriff, Emmett spat. Clint figured we could handle you too. Jake smiled grimly. Poor calculation. He gestured to Sarah. Tie them up. We're leaving them for your father to find. Using the Carsons' own rope, Sarah bound them securely to a rock formation near the cave entrance. As she finished, Jake's head snapped up at a sound from outside. He peered cautiously through the vines. Riders, he whispered. At least a dozen. Sarah joined him, relief flooding her features. That's my father's posse. Jake stiffened. Then this is where we part ways. What?
No.
Sarah caught his arm. You saved my life. My father will understand. Your father is the law, Sarah. And I'm still a fugitive. Sarah's grip tightened. The escape charge can be dropped. I'll explain everything. Before Jake could respond, Sheriff Matthews' voice boomed outside the cave. Sarah, are you in there? Here, father, she called back, never taking her eyes from Jake's face. I'm safe. Heavy footsteps approached the cave entrance. Jake tensed, his hand moving to his gun, then falling away. He wouldn't draw on Sarah's father, no matter what happened. Sheriff Matthews burst through the vines, his weathered face transforming from worry to joy at the sight of his daughter. Without hesitation, Sarah flew into his arms. Over her shoulder, the sheriff's eyes locked on Jake, recognition dawning. "Blackwood," he said flatly. "Sheriff." Jake stood his ground, shoulders squared. Sarah pulled back from her father's embrace. "He saved me from the Carsons, father. They would have killed me." The sheriff's deputies crowded the cave entrance, several drawing their weapons at the sight of Jake. "Lower your guns," Matthews ordered. His eyes never left Jake's face. "You came back for my daughter?" "I did." "Why?" Jake's gaze shifted to Sarah, then back to the sheriff. "Because she believed in me when no one else would. Because I owed her a life." Matthews was silent for a long moment. Behind him, his deputies had discovered the bound Carson brothers and were dragging them outside. "Father," Sarah said quietly, "Jake was innocent of the stagecoach robbery. We know that now. And the escape." She took a deep breath. "I helped him. He didn't assault Deputy Collins. I saw Collins fall and hit his head when he tried to stop Jake. It was an accident." The sheriff looked between his daughter and the fugitive. His expression was unreadable. "3 years I've been looking for you, Blackwood," he finally said, "to clear your name properly." Jake blinked in surprise. "Sir, after Collins was exposed after that deathbed confession. I knew I'd done you wrong." The sheriff extended his hand. "I owe you an apology. And now, it seems, my daughter's life." Cautiously, Jake shook the offered hand. Outside the cave, the posse had secured the Carson brothers. Word came that Clint and Wade had been apprehended near town. The kidnapping plot had failed completely. On the ride back to Silver Creek, Sarah insisted Jake ride beside her. The former fugitive was quiet, still processing the turn his life had taken. Freedom after 3 years of looking over his shoulder. "What will you do now?" Sarah asked as the town came into view. Jake considered the question. "I've built a good business in redemption. Tracking, leatherwork." "You could stay," she said softly. "Silver Creek could use a man with your skills." Their eyes met. Something unspoken passed between them. A shared understanding, a possibility neither had dared consider until now. "Could be persuaded," Jake replied, the corner of his mouth lifting slightly. "For the right reasons." 2 weeks later, Jake Blackwood stood on the boardwalk outside the sheriff's office. His name had been officially cleared, the governor's pardon arriving by special courier. Inside, Sarah was finishing her work, having resumed her duties assisting her father. The events of the kidnapping had only strengthened her resolve to support law and justice in the territory. As she emerged from the office, her face brightened at the sight of him. No longer captive and rescuer, no longer fugitive and savior. They were simply a man and woman finding their way toward something neither had expected. "Ready?" he asked, offering his arm. Sarah smiled, taking it. "Ready." Behind them, the sun set over Silver Creek, painting the frontier town in hues of gold and promise. Sometimes, even in the wild territories, justice and second chances walked hand in hand. If you enjoyed this frontier tale of redemption and second chances, hit like and subscribe for more Western stories that capture the spirit of the frontier. Let us know in the comments which character you connected with most.